Hey guys, this is Dave. Welcome back to Just the Watch, and today I have another Unboxing Plus review for you. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new Poseidon from Aquatico watches. And so in this video, I'm going to unbox the watch and give you my initial impressions. All right, that's a big watch, but a really sleek case. Kind of looks familiar though. I'll size up the bracelet and see how it wears on my 7.5-inch wrist. I'll take the watch out and test it for a few days. And at the end of all that, I'll come back and give you my final thoughts on the watch. All right, Aquatico Poseidon 300-meter diver. This watch looks fantastic on the wrist. I've really enjoyed wearing it. It has such a great clean look. But there are a couple of weird little quirks to it. But overall, really great watch. So together we'll kind of get to know the watch, and hopefully at the end of all this you'll get an idea of whether or not this is something you might be interested in purchasing for yourself. Now this is the fourth watch that Aquatico has sent over my way, and as with the other ones, this is one that they sent me to keep for free. That's why you saw the paid promotions flag at the beginning of this video. However, other than the watch itself, I didn't receive any compensation at all from Aquatico, and they didn't have any input into the content of this review. The Poseidon is a fairly large 300-meter dive watch with a 44mm case diameter. And particularly on the case design, I think they took a lot of inspiration verging on the homage territory from the Seiko Marine Master 300. However, they've gone a very different direction with the dial and the bezel, so it's kind of an interesting watch there. Anyways, let's go ahead and unbox it and see what we got. Yeah, but right off the bat, in the box they're giving me an extra strap. This is a sort of iso-frame style strap. Feels like silicone rubber. Not hugely high quality just from initial impressions, but not bad. And we'll see how it looks on the watch later on. But I think we're all here for this watch. Let's get this packaging off so we can take a better look at it. All right, so I think there is definitely a heavy Seiko Marine Master 300 kind of influence here, especially with the case dimensions and design. We'll get to that in a minute, but you know, I think with the dial and the bezel, they've kind of gone a different direction. Yeah, so kind of an interesting little mashup here. You're getting a sandwich dial on there, which is cool. Ceramic bezel, getting that kind of, you know, brown lume, so sort of that Fotina vintage lume color, which, you know, usually is not as bright, but you know, it does really look good, and that's kind of a popular style right now. Let's take a walk around this thing and see what they're giving you. So a couple of things to notice. They are giving you what appears to be female end links on the watch, which should help it wear better. However, despite that, they still seem to protrude out from the case. So you can see they don't drop straight down, they kind of poke out a little bit, even though they are female end links. So that's going to extend the lug to lug a little bit. Exhibition case back. This appears to be a bracelet with screw links, so that should make sizing it easier when we get to that portion of the video. Nice milled clasp here. This part of the clasp is nice and milled. The clasp itself feels a little bit thinner, and this is a, you know, one of those little flip up and then just tension to release it. And it's kind of a little bit hard to get. I actually kind of scratched my finger a little bit when I was opening up the first time. So I would have liked to see the bezel, the clasp a little bit smoother there. You're getting a very nice domed sapphire crystal. That looks really great there. Cool look. Bezel action is pretty good. No backplay, so that's nice. You know, it's not the most satisfying bezel action I've ever felt, but it's not bad. Similar to other Aquatico watches that I've tried, but this one, yeah, there's absolutely zero backplay, so that's pretty cool. The bezel looks pretty well lined up. It's hard to tell on camera here. But I think I can see a little bit of AR coating reflecting in there as well, so that's nice to see. Really beautiful crystal. I really love the doming on that. Really makes gives you a really cool view into the dial. All right, let's get the dimensions and specifications out of the way on this. So you're getting 44 millimeters across, so definitely a big guy. Lug to lug is about 49 millimeters, so actually not that bad on the lug to lug. However, you know, again, if you go to the widest point on the bracelet here, it jumps up to about 55 on that little protrusion. So that will extend it a little bit. So I'll be curious to see how that wears when I get it on wrist. Now thickness, that is a fairly high domed crystal. So yeah, it looks like with the crystal you're getting about 16 millimeters thick. So very chunky watch. However, with the crystal and with the case design, you know, just looking at it, it doesn't look like a 16 millimeter thick watch. Again, be curious to see how it wears. So the dial is just a matte black sandwich dial. So you're getting cutouts for the markers, but that sort of brushed ceramic bezel around the outside really looks cool. Yeah, but overall, initial impressions are really good. It's a really appealing look overall. Getting 4 o'clock crown. Definitely screw down. This is a no date watch. Yeah, it feels like there is a ghost date position there, so I'm pretty sure this is a Seiko NH35, which is a movement with a date paired up with a, it feels like the ghost date position there. And there's the time setting. It's a little bit of a cost saving measure there. 4 o'clock crown is nice, it's going to get out of your way. Yeah, so that looks a lot like a Seiko NH35 with a custom rotor. That's a nice touch. And the colors on the rotor, that black and gold, they kind of match the color scheme on the front of the watch. Okay, let's get this guy sized up for my wrist and see how it wears. Okay, so there it is on my 7.5-inch wrist. It wears really well. Those kind of little protruding links don't seem to affect my wrist too much. But if you've got a smaller wrist than me, it could start to be an issue. But on the wrist, the watch is very comfortable, and it is a very nice looking watch. Finishing on the case and bracelet seems to be top notch. This one they're selling for $359 on their site, but I do have a 10% discount code that you can use to knock about 35 bucks off that. It wears surprisingly well for a 44 millimeter watch that's 16 millimeters tall. I'll have to keep it on my wrist for a couple days to see how I get a real good feel for it, but initial impressions are it wears really nicely. Anyways, let's go ahead and kill the lights and take a look at the Lume. Okay, let's hit this with the black light, really get it charged up. Because there's going to be its peak brightness, and it's really not bad. Again, you know, you're going with that kind of retro patina style Lume, vintage color. That's not as bright as your normal sort of greenish tinted C3. But it's very evenly applied. That sandwich dial gives you the ability to put a lot of lume into those indices. Hands appear to be very well lumed too. So I would say this lume looks decent to my eye. Giving you a fully lume bezel and a little bit of a lume pip on the second hand as well, so you can see that one going around. So definitely something they did not skimp on. Anyways, with that, let's go ahead and test this thing out and see how it actually performs.
So I'm trying to learn how to do portrait photography, and what I'm trying to do now is to turn this background orange with a flash that has an orange gel over it. So I'll try and do that in a minute. But while I'm setting all this up and having fun with my hobbies, I am wearing the Aquatico Poseidon. And yeah, I've really been enjoying testing out so far. It looks a lot better on my wrist than I kind of expected. I thought it was kind of plain when I first unboxed it, but after having it on the wrist, it really looks great. It's just a great style of case, and the sandwich dial and everything really comes together well. For the size, it wears surprisingly well too. It's like a really giant watch based on the specs, but because of the case shape and the way it kind of curves and stuff, it doesn't feel that huge. I don't know if you guys can. It really does have a cool look to it. It's a lot different than a lot of other divers that I've tried. So I'll keep testing it for a little bit more, but let's see if this portrait thing actually works. Okay, so I have the Aquatico Poseidon here. And I have it on the bracelet. I've been wearing it on the bracelet for the testing phase, and overall, I like the bracelet. It's got a couple of little quirks. I'm not a huge fan of the clasp. This is the same clasp Aquatico has been using on a lot of their watches. This part where you just pull it up, it's loosened up a bit. It was really tight at first, but now it's not so bad. But I always, it feels a little bit rough there, and I was always kind of afraid. In fact, I did a couple times scrape my thumb on this part when I was popping it open. So I would have preferred like a push button clasp deployment here. The clasp section here is maybe not the highest quality. The links are great. These are screw links. It's a very comfortable bracelet once it is on the wrist. The only odd thing is that first link there. So you can see this is a female link. And normally with a female link, it will lay flat against the watch, but with this one, it doesn't. This link sticks out like that. You can kind of get it down, I guess about this far on that side. This one, if you push it down hard enough, it kind of comes down to there. But you can see, even with the female links, it's still kind of sticking out a little bit. So it protrudes past the case there. This link doesn't bend. For me, on my wrist, it doesn't really affect the way it wears. My wrist is large enough. Yeah, but it is what it is. But they do include a rubber strap with this. So let's try it on the rubber strap and see how that works. One thing to note with this bracelet, there is no way to get a spring bar tool in there. Normally with bracelets, there's a little gap in here, and you can kind of use that to get the spring bars. You have to use the drilled lugs, so it's nice that they include drilled lugs, but in order to change the strap, you are going to need some kind of a pin tool like this. To pop that bracelet off. Also, the tolerances are extremely tight on this bracelet too, so it's not the easiest one to get off. That time count. And it's even harder to get back on. I've done this once before, and it took me a long time of fiddling to get the bracelet reinstalled because the links are so tight there. Okay, let's take a look at this strap. So what we have is a silicone rubber strap. You can see that it is picking up a lot of dust. Now this strap is different from the one that was included with the superchargers. So if you're familiar with some of the other rubber straps that Aquatico has included on some of their more expensive watches like the supercharger, this is not as high quality as that one. I was very impressed with the strap that came with the supercharger. It looks almost exactly like this one, but it's made from a much different material. The supercharger is more of a glossy finish, a little bit firmer feeling rubber. This feels like silicone. So if you have tried silicone straps before, you'll know what you're getting into. They are often very quick at picking up dust. They don't have as long of durability as a good quality natural rubber strap, but they are very soft and very comfortable. Okay, here's how it looks on that silicone rubber strap. I like it. It's a cool look for the watch. It's it's this isofrane style strap, sort of isofrane inspired strap. But I think it matches the style of the watch very well. And I would definitely prefer this to a NATO strap. A lot of times they throw in a kind of free NATO. I like that they're throwing in a free kind of silicone rubber strap. I would take this over a NATO any day. So still a cool add-on. Let's try it on wrist. All right, so as expected, it's an extremely comfortable strap. You know, these style straps are great. You get a lot of breathability, a lot of channels for water to go through. Great waterproof strap for taking it in the ocean. And the flexibility and softness of the silicone is also very nice. So I'll try it on the strap for a couple days, and yeah, then we'll wrap it up. I'll come back with my final thoughts in just a minute. All right, Aquatico Poseidon 300-meter diver. This watch looks fantastic on the wrist. I've really enjoyed wearing it. It has such a great clean look. But there are a couple of weird little quirks to it. But overall, really great watch. So I don't know exactly what it was about this watch, but it felt a little bit more new and fresh, not as much in the homage territory as a lot of other similarly priced watches out there. This particular version with the black and kind of patinaed lume and markers and bezel, that kind of light, warm brown really looks great. The wear really surprised me as well. This is a fairly large watch at around 43 millimeters, or just over 43 millimeters, and around 15 millimeters tall. It didn't feel like a watch of that size. You know, I've had other similarly sized watches that I felt like they just looked too big on my wrist. This one looks great at this size on my wrist. But there were a few little quirks with this watch. The bracelet was interesting. So it was a really good, solid bracelet overall, and it's very nicely finished. It looks great. But the first links, those female links that attach to the end links, those I always felt like those sat a little bit awkward, like they should have had more articulation, that they kind of jutted out at a weird angle. The other thing is that the clasp on the bracelet is not my favorite. It's a little bit rough. And I did scratch myself once or twice when I was unlatching it, trying to get in there. They're offering this watch at $359. However, I do have a 10% off discount code down in the description, which I think will get it down to around $325 roughly. And I think that's a good price. I'm a little bit curious at why they priced it there, because you know the Seastar 2, which I reviewed not too long ago, has very similar specifications to this. However, that one they had listed, I think, at around $300. So this one's list price is $60 above that. The only noticeable upgrade I can see is that the bracelet is slightly upgraded with those screw links and just maybe a little bit nicer finishing. That said, I do definitely prefer this watch over the Seastar. I feel like it is a slight notch above in terms of finishing and design. Just a very fresh, cool dive watch. And I feel like that $360 is a very fair asking price for what they're giving you in this package. So that's going to wrap it up for my take on this watch. I'd love to hear what you guys think of it. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this particular watch from Aquatico or Aquatico in general. Or if you have experience with the real Seiko Marine Master 300, how you think this compares looks-wise to that one. You know, I've only been able to experience the Seiko Marine Master through pictures and reviews. So this is the closest I've come to it. But I really had a good time wearing this watch and checking it out. And that's going to wrap up the review of it. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.